Hi, I'm Certified Sommelier Beverly Crandon, and welcome to the Wine Down, where we talk about all things wine and make it highly approachable. Today's Wine Down is going to be a delicious one, okay? We're talking about 3 different types of curries and how to pair wines with them. Curry traces back thousands of years back to the Indus Valley civilization. So that would be places today, Northwest India, most of Pakistan, and parts of Afghanistan. But what's interesting about curry is its story about how it got to the rest of the world. If you look at that, it really is a lesson in history because it made it to parts of the world in marked historical times. So let's take a look at Britain. Made it to Britain because of colonialism and the spice trade. As a matter of fact, I think the first written recipe that was published actually came from Britain in 1847. And I think the title was something like How to Make Curry Indian Style. All right, so you have that, okay? And then the Caribbean. We eat a lot of curry in the Caribbean. But it got to the Caribbean from indentured servitude. So that's something to note. And now you look at it today, there's many countries who have their own type of curry, their own version of curry. One may add coconut, one may just heavy turmeric, one may be heavy masala. Still curry. It's the one thing that so many of us have that kind of unifies us based on a food from our homeland. That's something to think about. Now, for years, the wine world has recommended that you pair your curries with off-dry Riesling. To me, that is a very dated concept, and it is dated. This came around from the 80s when wine magazines really surged, and the topics would be about wine futures all the way through to wine pairings and what they would call exotic wine pairings too. And so that's where that came from. Today, we are so much better, brighter, smarter. Come on. But you know what? Even though when I use Google or an LLM and I'm like, hey, testing it out to see what they would recommend as the top wine for curries, and they still say off-dry Riesling, we're going to do an experiment today, you and I, okay? I mean, I have my thoughts. I've done a ton of curry pairings and have avoided Riesling on purpose. But today, on purpose because everybody says it's supposed to be Riesling, I want to change that up. But today what I've got is 3 different curries in a bunch of different wines. So we've got your Thai curry, we've got your Indian curry, and we've got your Caribbean curry. And we're going to pair those with many different wines and see which one slaps. It could be different for each. Let's see. All right, so as mentioned, we've got our 3 different curries, but I want to just introduce you to the wines that I have. I have 2 Rieslings in front of me. So one is dry, one is off dry. I threw in a really well-made white Burgundy, so a Chardonnay, that's seen some really lovely integrated oak into it. I threw in a Pinot Noir as well. And then I threw in a Cabernet Sauvignon that has seen some very big grape, that has seen some well-thought-out oak integration. I should mention my Cabernet Sauvignon is from a moderate climate. It's not a warm climate. So people say that the Riesling should win. We're going to test this. We're going to do this on fleek very fast. So we're going to see what we think. All right, now we're going to taste this. We're going to do these together, figure out what pairings really pop. Keep in mind that, you know, for my Indian style curries, it's very masala heavy. There's yogurt in there, you know, following that recipe. My Thai curries, it's curry, but there's some coconut, lemongrass, that type of thing in there. And then my Caribbean curry, we also use a little bit of masala. We use some turmeric in there. But then if you're Guyanese like me, you buy like the Guyanese package curry, which is very different in color. It's lighter in color than what you would see for your Indian and also your Thai, or darker than your Thai, but lighter than your Indian. So it's kind of somewhere in between. So we've got all arrays, all spectrums. Let's dig into this. When I'm tasting these, I'm tasting for things, very specific things. I'm looking for balance between the dish and the wine, but then I'm also looking for that wow factor. I'm looking to see if at any point the wine makes something really stand out in the food, or if there's something in the food and the spices and the way we put it together makes something really stand out in the wine. And we did have some wow moments, and let's talk about that. All right. Well, that was fun. I wish you were here in person to join me, because now we have a bunch of open wines here and a bunch of curries sitting on the stove. Okay, but listen, in all seriousness. So I started first with the Indian style curry, so heavy masala. And you know what worked better here was the dry Riesling. Out of all the wines that I had in front of me, the dry Riesling. And not the off-dry Riesling. Didn't pop as much. People take for granted what acidity does when you're doing food and wine pairing. That's why the drier style Riesling, I mean, just worked. I had some potato in here. It just kind of broke down some of the spice and the texture and the yogurt and all that kinds of good stuff. The dry Riesling, for sure. The off-dry Riesling, while that still has acidity, but there's that balance of sugar in there that it was distracting from the pairing. Then the Thai. So again, remember you guys, with all of these, I had off-dry Riesling because that's what the internet says you should do. This winning curry pairing. With the Thai curry, my Pinot Noir that saw a little bit of oak integration was a banger. Like, that just made the cherries on that Pinot Noir sing even more so. That, to me, was a winning pairing. Don't get me wrong. The Chardonnay that saw a little bit of oak integration also went nice with the Thai, but wow, that Pinot Noir. I guess it's also unexpected, right? So it's like, wow, look at that. That is so good how those two complemented each other. And then my Caribbean curry, it was the Cabernet Sauvignon, right? The one that saw some oak integration, moderate temperature. But I will tell you about my Caribbean curry, I added extra allspice in there. So I think there's some congruent sameness happening between my curry and this wine. Like, I'm sure. Like, when you look at the pundits online, they say all white wine. So it's Riesling. They will say Gewürztraminer in there. They'll say Sauvignon Blanc in there. But today, we not only had our curries with Rieslings, Chardonnay, but also with reds, a Pinot Noir and a Cabernet Sauvignon. And you can see for each, it was something different that it's saying for all of it. Yeah, so there you have it. The off-dry Riesling did not win at all, not once. So there you have it. That's the wine down, where today we broke down pairing wines with curry and challenging what the internet says and what some of the pundits have said since the 1980s that still exists and persists today. What this shows you is, listen, yep, sometimes you want little guidance, so you might do some research online to figure out what works. You're having a dinner party. But I think the thing you need to trust the most is your palate. Experiment. This experiment might have been a bit much. You have 3 different dishes and 5 wines, but experiment. And just be mindful, take notes, and know what you like, what suits your palate, and what suits the dishes that you make in your home based on your culture or background. The internet is not always right. I think I said that before in another one of these. But anyhow, when it comes to pairing, trust your palate and experiment. Cheers.